Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you also need to be careful with your computer's defense as well. If you need a VPN, go Nord. NordVPN.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months and gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via NordVPN.com/Kimber. First question is, why this book?
Why this book or why this time?
Well, both, I suppose. I'm interested in why you suddenly want to tell this story now.
Story now, and obviously the fractions in terms of wanting to tell a story against England only. Well, how I look at it is that my first book was done very prematurely. Obviously, a couple world records. I think we were roughly around 1994, 95. And it's, it didn't really cover my entire career. I've been a little bit turned off of books when you have 5 or 6 people doing their own research and getting their unauthorized biography out. So I really just sort of just shelved the idea. Also, finishing my cricket in 2007. I was very enthusiastic about leaving the game and finding happiness somewhere else, because I spent all my life playing cricket from the time I was a little boy until I became a professional. And I always felt that my story will be relevant no matter what period. So I didn't have a problem taking this long. To be honest, there is in my hand my Australian version of this book. That was even before COVID. And I've sat on it for a while because, again, the story I want to tell is not, it's more, I want to tell the right story, the factual story, the truth, and to understand myself some more when I'm writing out. So we've done this book, and I felt that doing a book on England might have been the right start because of the relationship that both England and the West Indies share on a cricket field, socially, politically, and what England meant to me as a young man growing up, or playing against England meant to me as a young man growing up, is very significant.
It's interesting when you look back at it. Your 3 world records. 2 of them are against England. One's in county cricket. Is there something about England that motivates you in a different way? Is there something about England bowlers that was different than South African bowlers or Australian bowlers or Indian bowlers? Like, what do you think it was that got you to those heights against, in those 3 occasions?
I mean, you gotta be there. When an England team arrives in the Caribbean, there's a different buzz to any other country in the world. I mean, of course, close proximity in terms of a test playing nation. And as I spoke to you about, the history between the West Indies and England. Now, in 1950 or in the 40s, the West Indies was not playing against India. We weren't playing against New Zealand. We were playing against England. Might have had a series or 2 against Australia. So that history goes a long way back. And every time my father or any of the elders talk about cricket, it would be about, West Indies cricket or 1950s success. And the fact that a lot of the islands, the feeling is a lot of the islands gained independence because of our prowess on the cricket field. So a series between West Indies and England meant the world to me. And at the time, I don't know if today, but at the time, England has been the epicenter for cricket for a very, very long time.
You were at your absolute best when you were motivated, whether it be a sledge or a match incident or everything else. I'm writing this book about the best 50 batters of all time. Everyone has you right at the top of their list, right? If not number 1, obviously in the top 5 or top 10 that they've ever seen. And the one thing they say is that you didn't have the consistency of Tendulkar or Kallis, but when you wanted to be at that player, you went above that sort of level. So what was it that suddenly switched it for you? Could it be a comment? Could it be a game? Could it be, as you said, the historical importance? It felt like you needed just that little bit more motivation than perhaps some of the other batters who just got up and wanted to score runs every day.
I think also, there was a price on my head very early in my career. I mean, most of the stuff I did was before I got to 20 test matches. And, being the center of attention, I think um, a lot of batters would not have carried that burden. So also, you're playing with a team where you're the main batter. And, the success of the team sometimes depended a lot on your performance. That added a lot of pressure. So sometimes it may seem that I was not motivated, but I also didn't think that I had the greatest technique as well. I think that was something that I always had to work on. I was an aggressive player. Sometimes, people talk about my backlift. I found more problems with, sometimes moving across my stump too much. And all these things play. So I would never place myself as being the perfect batter. I was definitely not Dravid. I was definitely not Callis, and certainly not Tendulkar. But when I got into my zone and when I felt that I was, you know, winning the battle mentally, that was when I was at my best. And to everyone or to you, it may seem like if something spurred him on, something motivated him. But it is just, I think it's just a theater. I think it's a theater. Yes, on many occasions, a bowler or a captain or a fielder may say something to me that I wasn't going to back down. And the best way for me to speak. So yes, I am a little bit guilty of that in a good way, that sometimes that brought out the best in me. But, I have no problem falling, behind the line when it comes to this technical prowess of a Tendulkar or Callis. I'm fine with that.
It's funny. You said about 20 interesting things there, but let's just go to the technical one because you finished with that. Did people try and change your backlift is my question, because it's so extravagant, right? And it's so different to a lot of other players. Did you have coaches as you were coming up going, that's not going to work for you?
No, none at all. I was lucky that way that, you know, you see the present day golfer, they would win a major or two, and then they'd change their swing by the end of the year. I think with my cricket and with the success that I was having as a young man through school age group cricket, I felt that everybody was just more in awe and happy that I was playing the way that I was playing. I think the West Indies have a certain flair about it, and I don't think anybody interfered with Sir Vivian Richards. I don't think anybody interfered with Gus Logie. All these guys have different, little character traits with their batting, and it was the same with me.
And the other thing that you mentioned was you became the focal point of that batting lineup. The further your career goes, the sort of obviously Shivnarine Chandrapal comes up, but it really is yourself, Shivnarine Chandrapal, and probably Sarwan almost holding the batting up for a long period of time. When you came into the side, it was a lot stronger and there was a lot more batters that were very talented. Does that affect you? Or is each individual ball, each individual innings different? Or are you thinking a little bit more towards the middle and later part of your career? I've got to bat in a certain way because we might not be as strong as we used to be.
Well, first of all, Viv said it first. Where sitting to bat is very, I get very anxious, antsy. I want to go to the bathroom. So I had this mental picture of always going out to bat as quickly as possible. That was the first picture that I had in my mind. And so I embrace pressure. My best scores have come under pressure, and my best scores have come when the West Indies maybe 2 or 3 down. We don't have 50 runs on the board as yet. And that is definitely made me sort of buckle in and score big. So I've never really been affected by it. One of the things that I would, sort of would have loved to change, or if I had a second go at it, is sometimes, you put the team is in a great position, but come the 4th and 5th day, there's only one winner, and it's the opposition. And I found myself very difficult and struggling with that sort of pressure. So I maybe and it's evident that, I don't have to hide from it. My first innings average is much better than my second innings average. I played majority of the time in a team that was either trying to stave off defeat or was defeated. We didn't win much test matches back then. So it meant that a lot of my second innings was played under tremendous pressure. And if I had to do it again, I think I would have a different approach.
If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.
I want to talk about spin a little bit. There's yourself and Andy Flower, a couple of other players from the same era who were brilliant at playing spin, but come from outside of Asia. But you still have the background of lots of spin being bowled in Trinidad, the wickets turning quite a bit. How much of it is a natural part of your game? And how much do you think it was being in the right place at the right time and the conditions helping out?
I don't understand being in the right place at the right time. I don't know if you want to explain that, but it was just...
Well, if you'd grown up in Jamaica, where Sabina Park is more about facing pace, would you be better at facing pace? And whereas Trinidad at that era, with those wickets, does that help you? I suppose is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, the answer to that is also the population. If you go back into time, you know that Guyana and Trinidad was where a lot of the indentured laborers from India came from, and Guyana and Trinidad, again, the soil content is not, the coral or the bauxite that you have in Jamaica, the coral in Barbados. It's more marshland where, the pitches didn't have that soundness, didn't have that firmness, that concrete feel as you see in Jamaica and other places. So those were two major factors. We created a lot more spinners in Guyana and Trinidad compared to the other islands. And, from street cricket to, playing on a dust bowl in the savannah in my village, I learned to play spin much quicker than fast bowling.
So you felt that even when you were a kid, you felt that was the thing that you were developing a little bit earlier, was the ability to play spin quicker.
Yeah, most definitely. I went to India when I was 14 with the schoolboys team and got a proper amount of spin, as a young man, and I handled it pretty well in India.
So your record against Warner Murali, I think you average over 70 direct head-to-head against both of those bowlers. They're very different. Obviously, one spins it away, one spins it back in. Is there anything that you had to change in the way that you played spin? Because you can grow up in Trinidad and play all the guys from Guyana, and you can go to India. But Warner Murali were very different, of course, different kinds of spinners than you probably would have faced back when you were growing up.
Yeah, but the similarity with them is the fact that they gave the ball a little bit of air. And I was someone who loved to use my feet, get down the wicket, didn't like to be trapped in my crease with spinners. So, the Sacklin and the Harbhajan Singh and maybe even Kumbhle, with the low trajectory and getting the ball through as quick as possible, had me a little bit more tied down than, say, a Murali and a Shane. They were of course outstanding spinners and maybe the best spinners, but with my ability to pick up from the fingers what the ball is trying to do. And that's the first thing I will tell any youngster. I think with T20, because there's this drive to smash everything, that they're forgetting to look and see what the bowler is delivering out of his fingers. And I think that was one of my strength, to know if it was a googly, to know if it was a flipper from Shane or if it was a Dusra from Murali. I picked those things up pretty quickly from the fingers. Of course, I had a second line of decision making when the ball was coming down in the air to see if it which direction it's spinning.
I want to get back to the England part of this. Obviously, that's the major part of your book and everything. There's an innings I watched recently. I was talking to Jimmy Adams, and he told me to find this innings. I can't remember now if it was at Old Trafford or if it was Trent Bridge. I think it's Trent Bridge, where you hit boundaries from force slip to extra cover. And there's like a boundary every 5 meters when you look at the wagon wheel. You went all the way through. And Mike Atherton, I think, was the captain. He kept putting fielders in and you kept picking the gaps. your ability to pick gaps, again, is that something that is natural to you? Is that something that is that you had to learn when you got to that level?
No, that was natural. I played a lot of cricket in my garage by myself, and I would set up plan putts and I'll have my scoring, my copybook to score. And these plant putts represented fielders. So I'd maybe throw the ball against the wall and I would hit the gaps, massive plant putts. It wasn't easy to hit. The minute you hit the plant putt, is not runs. And I think I developed that desire to get value for my shots every time that I played. So for me, I had this mental picture of where everybody, when I walked out to bat, I knew where everybody was. If I wanted to get single to get off the mark, if I wanted to take advantage of a bowler and score boundaries, I knew where every single player was. And you sort of play that game of chess where you got the captain moving players into certain positions to create other gaps for you. So when I was in full flow, you would hardly see me hit a ball to, a bad ball to straight to a fielder. I most likely will delay my shot or hit it early, open the face, close the face, all depending on where I can find a gap.
And how, when at that particular innings or those innings when you're playing in England where you just kept punishing them through the offside, is it also then part of the game that you're literally saying you could put three fielders? I think at one stage you had two gullies, a point and a cover point, and you're still picking the gaps between them. Is that your way of using that skill to further dominate, to say to the bowler and the captain, there's nothing you can do here?
Well, not in an arrogant way, but
of course.
No, but I mean, at the end of the day, when you have a captain changing a field or you have a bowler, you would look into their eyes and you would see if they're defeated or not. You would see that they, grabbing at straws or whatever the case may be. That innings in Nottingham, I was bowled to a leg side field where I eventually got out caught off my glove, I think, down the leg side, if that was the right match.
Yep.
And so that's the extreme that a captain will have to go to limit your scoring opportunities. But I would look at, my game was based more on the mental side of it than the practical side of it. I didn't mind how bad I looked, but as soon as I come out of that survival mode, as soon as I come out of that period where I feel 30% belong to me, 70% belong to the bowlers, and it starts shifting into my direction, is when I start taking in charge of the game. But more than anything else, mentally, I can look at the bowler and I know that he doesn't want to bowl at me. I can look at a captain. I can see that he wants to go on the defensive, but he's a bit puzzled, or he's quite happy to bowl at the the non-strikers. And these are the battles that I wanted to win, and these are the battles that were the minute I knew I won it, I took charge of the innings.
And the last innings, of course, is when you regain the world record. So again, it's against England. And as you've already said, there's a history there. You want to dominate them. But was there a part of you felt like you owned that record and it was part of your identity, and when it was ripped away, if you had another chance to get it, you were going to go for it? Was that any part of your thinking? Was it just, again, the day came, the bowlers were bowling, poor Gareth Batty had to go?
Yeah, so it was October, November, when my lawyer called me, English lawyer. He said he has a number for me to call, and that was, Matthew Hayden, your record was just broken. I was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was in Jamaica playing maybe first-class cricket, and I called Matthew, but immediately, obviously, there is a little bit of shock and sadness. Might be the word, but you've lost your record. But that's fine, because at the time, I was captain in the West Indies for the second time. And it was 2003 that I assumed that captaincy again. And my focus then was on becoming a better captain and trying to see if I can bring a team together moving forward. I always felt that those two records sometimes were a burden in terms of, being it brought a lot of great stuff to me. But it also brought a lot of attention and scrutiny and negativity. So I had no problem. Now, with 100 runs in 6 test innings, leading into Antigua, no one can tell me that I was thinking about the record. I was thinking of getting off the mark. And I was thinking of getting West Indies. I mean, because there was some hesitance, because we were batting so badly, there was some hesitance winning the toss and deciding what we should do, because the best way to draw a test match is let the opposition do what they have. And then you know what you have to do to save the follow-on. You know what you have to do to drag this game out. If you bat first and you get out cheaply, then the test match is, most likely over. So there was some hesitance, but we realized that this pitch is as good as ever, and we cannot allow England the opportunity to bat first. And I got in. I think Michael Vaughan still talks about the fact that he thinks I was out to North, caught behind off Hammerson. I said to him, I don't walk because you think I am out. I walk when I know I'm out. And what happened during the match is that, I got set and I can tell, again, that mental victory. England kept me down and out for 6 innings. But I can tell when I start to get going and I start getting 50, 60, and I got to 100, I can see okay, they accept that this is going to be a big one, or this is going to be something different. This is not what happened in the last 6 test match. And winning that mental side of it made things much easier for me.
And then from then on in, there's obviously something within your personality that allows for those massive innings, right? That drives you once you're in that inning. So, I talked to Mark Waugh, and Mark Waugh said to me, I'd make 100 and then I'd done my job and off I was. There's something about Brian Lara that obviously went, no, I'm going to keep going as far as I can now.
Well, that's Mark Waugh. But if you speak to maybe Sangakkara, who's got 9 test hundreds, Sobers or even, the guys who've gone on to score, quite a few double hundreds, that the enjoyment just starts. And when I say enjoyment is maybe the lack of enjoyment from the bowling side of it. They are tired, they are defeated. And okay, Mark Waugh might say, time to go back in, so let me give somebody my wicket. I would say it's not time to go back in. Let me take advantage of this situation, because, I learned very early in my career, you move your average from 30 to 50 with one innings, 277, and if you start to, give away your innings, then, what's going to happen? You have to take advantage of the times that are going good for you, because the bad times are definitely going to come.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for having a chat, mate. You have a great day.
Same to you. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.